And we're live. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to our guests.
Thank you for having us.
Really
Good.
appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, this is really exciting. This is a new technological breakthrough for us to have
Yeah.
a live stream with guests on. And I'm glad it was
No one's
you.
ever done this before.
Not in the history of the internet. You're witnessing
No.
a first.
Yes.
Well, I guess I would say people are witnessing a first. Unfortunately, uh, I'm sure nobody is watching because, as we were told by our YouTube rep, the reason your channels and our channel collapsed in viewership at the same time right around the election was just because the internet collectively decided at the same time that nobody wants to watch our shows.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it's very
It
interesting.
was like a polite way of saying, you guys just suck now.
Yeah, suddenly, overnight.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited to have you on because I know you guys have some new information that you're going to drop here.
That's
I'm very
right.
excited to hear what you
We
have to say.
we'll do our best to not suck today and keep everyone engaged.
Yeah.
We do.
Yes, everyone,
we've
please
kind of
like.
Yes.
We've been kind of uncovering why this is potentially happening. It's been alarming on all ends for us,
Mhm.
especially with all the experiments we've been doing. We hope to catch everyone up to speed there. And shout out to any of the China show fans if you're watching too.
Yeah, and I just like to get right into this to say that what we're dealing with here is somewhat of a conspiracy, but it's the kind of conceit that's actually real.
It's like if a conspiracy theory didn't involve tinfoil hats.
If it didn't involve theories, but just facts.
Right.
Okay,
right.
but for those of you who might not know what's going on here, and the reason why we've decided and reached out to China Uncensored is something has been affecting all channels that are critical of the CCP and critical of China, and it happened all at the same time.
It did.
And it's a bit too coincidental to just brush aside and say, oh, you know what, that's just the algorithm or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
We noticed a drop of about at least on my channel, Laowhy86, a drop of about 72%.
Yeah.
Basically
Wow.
overnight. So 72%, and it doesn't add up because what happened was when I wrote the article, I wrote an article for The Hill, and I also did a video about this. I had people reach out that watch both of us and China Uncensored as well, saying that they not only watch every one of my videos, but sometimes they watch them more than once because they just want to like help out.
Mhm.
And they hadn't seen my videos since the election. They actually thought that I had retired or quit.
Huh.
I'm
Mhm.
only about 40 years old. I'm not retired yet.
Yeah.
So a little early for that. But
Mm.
you got some of the same feedback.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because, you know, as a long-term YouTuber, and I've been doing this, so have you guys, for many, many years, over a decade. I don't know. I started in earnest in about 2008, so it's a long time, and you get to learn how it works. And you see, hey, you can tell if your views are starting to dip. It's time for you to change things up and maybe make more engaging content, change your thumbnails. Maybe you're not hitting the mark. Maybe you're doing something your audience doesn't like, but you are keeping an eye on the trends. You know what's going on. And when you see it dip, you're like, ah, this isn't good. Let's change it up. And you can usually bring it back up. But when it suddenly is just like 10 out of 10 for your video, because YouTube ranks your videos, it tells you out of 10 how well your latest video is doing. You're like, wow, I just hit a 10 out of 10. I must have done something really bad. I got to fix this. Next one you put out, another 10 out of 10. You're like, what is going on? That's just
The episode that
unprecedented.
came out on China Uncensored today, 10 out of 10.
Well, 10 out of 10 sounds
Exactly.
good if you say that.
You're right.
It's
bad.
it's bad.
See, the
10 out of 10 is not
uninitiated, it's
good.
the worst.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it means the worst. And when you're seeing 10 out of 10 and then another 10 out of 10 and then another 10 out of 10, that's not normal. Absolutely not normal. And we saw overnight our channel, my one happened just like the day before Halloween.
Mhm.
Is when my channel just suddenly took a nosedive. And I released a video that for my channel is crazy. It only got 70,000 odd views, which is incredibly low considering the prior videos to that were getting in the millions.
And considering the percentage of people that normally watch our videos, again, that was especially spooky when people reached out after telling them what was happening.
Mhm.
That, hey, I watch everything, and you haven't come up on my feed once.
Yeah.
Right. Then it got potentially worse. Does that track for you guys, by the way? Just want to ask.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
actually, I do want to say, when this first happened to us, like my first thought was, especially after talking to the YouTube rep, oh no, we've done something
Yeah,
bad.
I mean,
We
because like
screwed
we
up.
saw this for a couple months. I guess we didn't talk to you guys until what, like late
It was
Well, what was great is that
December.
Winston, you reached out to me and asked if this was happening to us as well, and I was like, "Wait a minute, maybe
Yeah, because
maybe we don't suddenly suck."
we were literally that week having a conversation about like what's going on. Are we just picking terrible topics all the time? Like what's happening with our views? And then it was like
You
suddenly it was
reached
like,
out.
oh wait, we're not crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
And I mean, that's what really sparked off a bit of an alarm for me is we keep an eye on other channels because that's what you do when you're a YouTuber is you keep an eye on what's going on. You keep an eye on the competition, you know, the shills out there that are making all the pro-CCP stuff. You see what they're doing. You keep an eye on the people in your same arena, the people that are criticizing the CCP, which includes your channel and a couple of other channels. And just by looking at the other channels, we started to notice a market downturn on any channel that was criticizing the CCP and a massive boost to anyone who was, you know, promoting the CCP.
Yeah. So it actually got worse because it wasn't just the feeds that were not showing our videos. It turns out that when we, and I think you guys did this too, but when we started searching things, when we searched China, for example, using a private window or an incognito tab so that it's not, you know, giving you filtered results based on your interest, we found that it was largely serving up pro-CCP content.
And we did that this morning.
Yeah.
We
to
went
stay up to
online
date.
and we did another search, and we even changed VPN servers so that we're on the East Coast, West Coast, in another country. We did this, and the results were actually kind of the same.
Yeah. So in just this morning with 700 search results,
700 plus, closer to
700 plus.
800. Yeah.
I must say Laowhy86 came up last because I came up 0 times.
Not one of his videos turned up. And I just want to put some things into perspective. You've got some China shill videos, which are a year old or more than a year old.
4 years old.
That have got like maybe like, I don't know, 120,000 views. They're coming up. And you've got channels and videos that are completely unrelated to China, just happen to pop up as well. But you know, Laowhy86's channel is focused on China. Every video he puts out is about China.
Has China in the title.
Very well known for covering China topics, and not one of his videos. And if you're talking about if you can show a shills video from a year ago with 120,000 views, why can't you show one of Laowhy86's videos from a month ago or a couple of months ago that's got 1 million views?
Yeah, exactly. It makes absolutely no sense.
Are you
so
guys
just
seeing?
Go ahead.
When we did this experiment a few times after you guys started it, like what I saw was the same China shill videos repeated over and over.
Yes.
Like you would
Yes.
get one like 20 times, but you would not see
Yes.
any of yours.
I
How-
know
how
you
many
saw
of
that
these-
some had no views.
Yeah. How many of these living in China videos have you seen crop up?
Oh, all over the
You know?
place lately.
The China
like
versus
the-
USA.
The high-speed
I mean,
rail
this-
in Wuhan.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, living in China, living in China, living in China, living in China. And that's just from like a search of China, and they're all coming
That's
up.
one search, by the way.
That's not like we didn't do that. That just all came up in the same row. Living in China has been boosted
Living
the
in
most out of all
China,
of them.
Living in China. Living in China.
And the same video over and over again. That's not natural. Okay.
In fact, in our little controlled test here,
Yeah.
we did this probably 4 times this morning, right?
Yeah.
4 times. Living in China averaged 10 results each time. I got 0.
Yeah.
Winston on Serpentza and Laowhy86 ended up coming up twice consistently on all of the results, but only if he posted anti-America pro-CCP videos, meaning his thumbnail said something that had
China's
America's
amazing
beaten.
robots have shocked the world.
Yeah.
You know, America's screwed, something like that. Remember, I did that on purpose because I noticed that only these very positive, glowing, like China's better than America videos were getting views. So I tried that on my channel, and just as in a mocking way, in a sarcastic way, I made my thumbnail and title to say, you know, China's amazing, America sucks. And both of those videos did incredibly well. My video went from previous video from like 120,000 up to like 680, 700,000 views immediately.
Yeah, I
You
saw
know?
your experiment, and I did that once, like for one video on our channel, and it also performed better than anything else we've done.
Yeah.
recently,
Isn't that
so-
isn't that wrong?
Yeah.
Like, should we
Strange.
have to do that?
You know?
Also, I just want to say, I think it's interesting that, between us, we have millions of subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's only a little over 1,000 people watching this now. And some people are saying, like, this was not in my YouTube live recommended feed. So,
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we found when we did a viewer survey in December, and we got about 6,000 responses, and we found that a lot of our viewers were getting basically screwed by YouTube. Uh, we had 1 in 4 had been secretly unsubscribed at some point. Some of them more than once, more than 3 times even. Um, we had a lot of viewers who, I think about a third, were not getting notifications, even though they had their notifications turned on, and that may be what is happening now. And then, like, we emailed our YouTube rep about this, and she was basically like, "Oh, we've investigated and found that there's lower viewer interest in your videos."
Actually, we didn't email them. They contacted us after we started the Operation Honeypot thing.
Right, and then we asked them. We replied to ask them a question, and they replied that there was low viewer interest. Like, it wasn't that there was anything wrong with the algorithm or that things changed.
Yeah,
or-
they said they were going to investigate, and then after a week, they were like, "Oh, we've investigated, and it's everything's fine."
We've investigated ourselves and
Yeah.
found no wrongdoing.
we do not secretly unsubscribe people. We don't do that.
Yeah, and search results are normal for China. They're
Right.
totally normal.
So-
To me, because the
Yeah.
craziest thing was, just to go through a couple of these, on that same search result, pro-CCP, pro-China travel videos came up 176 times
Whoa.
as we counted.
Wow.
We also saw channels Cyrus Jansen came up 7 times. This guy Max Chernov came up 6 times. And then a bunch of other travel videos and stuff like this. Chinese EV videos came up 31 times. Tons of news content, but none of mine. A couple of you guys, but you are ranked towards the bottom.
Like down at like number 600 result.
And
Yeah.
Winston
Yes.
came up
No one would
twice
see
with
that.
his anti-US looking videos.
Yeah.
It was shocking. One thing we noticed just today, actually, a ton of Spanish language pro-CCP videos have started populating results.
Oh, interesting. Get
No
that
matter
global
where you
south.
are, you can be in Boston, New York, California, Montana. Change your VPN, you'll get a ton of Spanish language pro-CCP videos, which is interesting, and lots of now Indian pro-CCP content as well.
Yeah.
I just want to go through those search results. Perhaps the worst part of these search results is there were videos that have 0 views. It literally doesn't even have a number. It says no views, and those are coming up on search results. At least 10 of them this morning came up, no views videos, and then we're not coming up. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, how do you compete when
If
yeah.
YouTube search results are based on competition, like the YouTube reps say, then they're wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe everybody
Correct.
just wants to watch China travel vlogs.
Well, after everyone went on to Red Note, they saw the real China and
Yeah.
saw that they've seen through our lies.
Yeah,
Yes.
there we go.
And now that all the USAID is being pulled, the funding is being pulled. Obviously, we're losing our
Yes,
money
yes.
because we're backed by the U.S. government. So
Yes, of
people
course.
now
Apparently
they
so.
know our scam is over.
I wanted to talk about a couple of things here. Okay, first of all, I wanted to talk about these travel things because we received an email in error, because this happens sometimes. They send these proposals to us.
Quite a few times.
Yeah, to some of our other email addresses that they don't actually know belong to us, because we've got a couple of different channels. And we actually have one of their proposals here, so we can explain what's behind these travel videos. But before we did that, before I go through this email, there is something I'd like to point out, because there's this idea out there that somehow the China Show and China Uncensored, somehow we are part of the same organization, or somehow we collaborate. And that's actually not true. We are completely independent entities. And that throws even more, of a spotlight onto this. Why would 2 completely separate, completely unrelated YouTube channels get hit with the same kind of, I'd like to call it censorship at the same
Not only
time?
that, Serpentza and Laowhy86,
Yeah.
all of our affiliated stuff.
Exactly, because Serpentza and Laowhy86, yeah, we work together, we do the China Show, but our personal channels are separate from the China Show. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can confirm that we don't work together. We're not under some kind of umbrella organization here, right?
Yes, we're competitors.
No, we're fierce competitors. I kind of hate you guys. I
Yeah.
look at your channels and I'm just seething with envy every time one of your videos does better than mine. No.
Well,
Unfortunately, the guys at China Uncensored are very nice, so it's kind of
Yeah.
impossible to hate you guys.
yeah,
but
no, for sure. I mean,
Why,
we
thank
are aligned as far as our criticism of the CCP and
course.
wanting a better life for the people of China, and
Yeah.
basically helping the world escape from the tyranny that is the Communist Party of China. Anyway, should I get into this email?
Well, yeah.
No, let's see what they
Okay.
they propose.
All right, so I'm going to read this. I've redacted a few things out of here. I don't want to give away the, because I want them to send more, basically. Okay. But okay, this organization reached out and said that they're now expanding their presence in China, and they're excited to announce an exclusive opportunity for travel enthusiasts like you. We are currently recruiting 50 travel experience ambassadors to join our blah, blah, blah China Association and embark on a remarkable journey across China. Here are the activity details. Selected ambassadors will receive a remuneration ranging from, and they've got some numbers here. I'm going to leave that out for now. This is the participation process and route selection. First, choose your preferred travel route. We will pay for your transportation from your once you get there. So that what they're saying is like, you have to pay for your ticket to get to China, but once you're in China, we'll take care of everything. So our company will arrange all hotel accommodations, transportation, and the itinerary for you. Hotel breakfast is included. Lunch and dinner are at your own expense. And these are your available routes. You can choose Maritime Silk Road Heritage Tea and Porcelain Tour, which is Fuzhou, Quanzhou, Wulong, or Ancient Architecture and Colorful River Tour, which is Changzhi, Yuncheng, Wulong. And they've got dates here, Or you can take the Xiaoxiang and Bashu Cultural Tour, and it gives you the, Changsha, Zhangjiajie, Yibin, Wulong, and the World Heritage Exploration Tour, Yancheng, Yideng, Yingdezheng, Lushan, Wulong, etc., etc. It says for ambassadors in China, an assistant will receive you. The assistant will reimburse you your round-trip expenses later. So here's the thing. They say you need to pay in advance for your transportation fare to the gathering city. So as in the beginning, so that you got to pay to fly to wherever, Guangzhou or something. They say, though, the assistants will reimburse your round-trip expenses later. Then they say for friends from overseas who wish to participate, you need to bear the round-trip air tickets and train tickets. So if you wanted to bring other people along. Let's see. See if there's anything else very interesting here. Okay. Based on your follower account, we will pay you a certain remuneration ranging from X to X, depending on your amount. The payment will be made after you upload your video works. Okay, here are the requirements for participants. You must have 10 to 50,000 followers on a single platform, either Instagram or YouTube. Your nationality must be non-Chinese. Okay, so you're not allowed to be Chinese. Requirements for shooting.
Sorry, Shelley.
Yeah. For Instagram, create a 1 to 3 minute video or a set of pictures. Videos are preferred. For YouTube, create a 3 to 5 minute video. This is obviously for every place you go. If your follower count is less than 10,000, but your travel-related works have more than 5,000 views, you can still apply. If you're passionate about traveling and consider using a friend's influence account, you can travel, shoot videos, and then post them using your friend's Instagram or YouTube account. That's an interesting little loophole over there, all right? Please ensure that you can log in normally during the trip. It is recommended to log in continuously on your phone for 7 days. We will also pay the corresponding remuneration. Don't miss this amazing opportunity to explore China and share your experiences with the world.
So this is how they get people kind of indoctrinated into doing these travel videos. The thing is, these are not innocent travel videos. I think a lot of people fall into this idea that, hey, it's not the Chinese government because I'm just going to go eat some food and look at a mountain.
Yeah.
These are put on by the Chinese government through third-party organizations. And what they do is they have targets and goals and propaganda points that they want each person to hit. For example, when we did a bit of an expose on this Chongqing travel campaign, we found dozens and dozens of videos saying the exact same thing over and over again. And you could actually line up the audio, and we actually
You may think you're on the ground floor, but actually you're on the 22nd floor.
So what
there's a train that goes through a building.
So what's happening is that these travel guides are taking these foreign, let's say American tourists around with their cameras, and they're saying, oh, this is like a nice place to go. Why don't you say this? Why don't you say this? Why don't you say this? And it's actually part of a government campaign. And it's all boils down to something called 讲好中国故事, tell China's story well.
Yeah.
This is a top level campaign from the top parts of China's administration to make sure that China can spread its soft power around the world. And we are now seeing them pull the trigger on a massive multi-billion-dollar campaign. And that's why you're seeing all these travel videos, is it's part of this massive zeitgeist. But you know what's funny about this email? That my favorite part of this email that we haven't mentioned yet. We were CC'd in the email along with almost every shill,
including living in China.
Yeah.
He was in the CC as well. I mean, these
you got to use BCC. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Right?
Well, I got to say,
I mean,
this,
look,
this makes me furious.
Yeah.
For years, I've made it very clear that I'm completely willing to sell out. And not once has anyone tried.
That's true.
Think of it. China Uncensored goes to Xinjiang, sees no genocide. I was wrong. It would be so good. Just throw me some money.
Here's the thing. Speaking of the Xinjiang thing, this is how they vet you. Is they get you to go on one of these trips first. Okay, and they take you to wherever they go, like the Maritime Silk Road Heritage Tea and Porcelain Tour is going to be all about the BRI, all about poverty alleviation. They're going to do all that, the communist propaganda talking points on top.
Watch any of the travel videos, you'll see those points.
Exactly. So you're going to see all that nonsense, and then if it's successful, and you get views and people like your stuff, while you're there, they're going to say, "Hey, how about a trip to Xinjiang?" And they'll organize it.
It's a way of almost like vetting a mark, right? Like, hey, could this guy potentially work for us and do stuff that we really want to push? Because there's much stronger points that China wants to push. They're trying to completely get rid of the Uyghur genocide right now. They're in attack mode. Before they're in defense mode. They're like, no, it's not true, blah, blah, blah. Now they're in attack mode. They're actually sending, foreigners there, particularly white people. They like to send white guys there to go, what do you mean genocide? I'm looking around here in this tourist square with 6 miners around me. What do you mean genocide? And that's how they get you.
And a good example of the recent Xinjiang stuff is after Thailand repatriated, about 50 Uyghurs. They showed video of 2 of them meeting their families and hugging, and it's like, oh, there's no problem. Where was everyone else? Gone.
It's this very sinister plot that I think people need to see past. Like, they need to see deeper into this. These aren't innocent travel videos that these guys are participating in. I might say that a lot of them don't know what they're doing to the full effect, right?
Sure.
But when you participate in this, you are promoting the Chinese government. You're promoting your adversary in a soft power plot that has been kind of dictated from the top down in Chinese leadership. So it's it's not good.
Well, think about this. Okay, you've got the Chinese government paying foreigners to go travel at huge expense. I mean, they put a lot of money into this. I mean, of course, whatever, they pay the influencer a couple $1,000s or whatever, and then all of his travel expenses.
Could be a lot more.
Yeah, it could be a lot more, depending on the influencer, and it does scale, of course. If you've got a big influencer, they offer more.
Yeah.
As even in this email, it says, depending on if you got this amount, we'll pay you this amount. If you got this amount of followers, we'll pay you more. I mean, it scales. But there's a lot of money going into this. There's a lot of money going into their massive propaganda push. So why wouldn't a lot of money be going into their influence over YouTube and Google, for instance? I'm talking about SEO, paying for certain videos to be advertised in order to pop up whenever you search China.
In fact, that happened. Yeah. So we searched our clips channel, China Fact Chasers, and Google does offer some amount of transparency with ads. It's actually very interesting. I like to see when ads are getting served out of Hong Kong or China. But one particular ad popped up, and it was one of these travel shill videos. I believe it's to Chongqing.
Yeah. It's like, oh, there's an amazing city you've never seen, some nonsense like that.
Yes, and it came up as a sponsored video in the search results, right? And it says, because you searched for China Fact Chasers, the name of our channel, it served up a pro-CCP video. So this is obviously happening.
Yes.
Like, this is, and to really boil this down, why are we seeing all these search results of all these like pro-CCP videos? Well, number one, they're being incentivized to be put out.
Yes.
It looks like there's some sort of campaign to promote them in some way, shape, or form. And if you have a fire hose of 10,000 pro-CCP videos, of course it's going to at some point drown us out, right?
One thing that we noticed that was very interesting about those search results is that in the beginning, it's very heavily pro CCP, like these
Mhm.
travel vlogs come up over and over. Once
Yeah.
you hit like 300, 400, like it starts to even out a little bit. Like we actually kept a
Right.
tally of how many were pro CCP
Yeah.
videos versus like anti CCP or neutral videos. And right up front, the first 100 is like 5 times as many pro CCP videos, 3 times as many pro CCP videos. By the time you get to 7 or 800, it's kind of more even, but like nobody's gonna go look 800 videos in.
That's 300 search results.
Yeah.
Most people probably don't search past 50, but like it
Right.
gives YouTube kind of like a plausible deniability, right? That like they're like, oh
Mm.
well, there are, you show up. I mean, show your number 624, but you're there, And
Well,
it's
Sure.
probably
Shelly,
'cause
I
it's
think that goes
engaging.
out the window when you do the China search and there's videos with 0 views. That's not out competing us. That doesn't make any sense, right? There is no
Well,
plausible deniability when you're serving up no views videos to people that are searching for China and leaving out the 3 biggest creators in
Mhm.
regards to China content.
Yeah.
I would say there's another possibility. Like between all the channels that we have, there's about 5 million subscribers. Is it
Mhm.
Yeah.
possible that every single one of them is actually wrong about what they like and what they actually want to see is pro CCP videos?
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the algorithm knows best, right?
There's yeah, sorry, you were saying?
Well, I'm just wondering, have we told you the recent problems we're having with Apple? Oh, okay. So,
Speak up because our mic volume is too low.
oh, my mic volume is too low. Okay, I'll speak loudly. So we've been designing a China Uncensored app for iOS. We've been working with the company, and they say usually it takes between 24 to 48 hours to get the app approved or rejected by Apple. And if they reject it, they have to give a reason so you can make changes and resubmit it. Uh, Usually 24 to 48 hours, a week, usually at tops. We submitted it 6 weeks ago, and we have heard nothing from Apple. They are just completely ghosting us. So we've got this app just hanging out in limbo, and we can't get it. We can't get it made. We can't get it out on the App Store, or yeah, Apple App Store.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
China. And I mean, China exerts pressure in many different ways. And one of the ways is just by letting everybody know that if you criticize the Chinese government, that you're going to get some sort of retaliatory measure against you if you've got business in China.
Mhm.
Oh,
And I
just a
see,
quick
I
note
can see Apple
about
buckling.
pressure.
Yeah.
We do have a petition going because Apple censored us back in 2017 as well when we tried to make a app for Apple TV, and they blocked it in mainland China, which we expected, but also in Hong Kong and Taiwan. So yeah, well, we at the time we got a petition of we got 10,000 signatures, we got some media coverage, and then they just quietly allowed the app to be unblocked in Taiwan and Hong Kong. So we've got this petition going, trying to get another 10,000, maybe some media coverage. So hopefully get Apple to just quietly unblock it. But anyways, thank you.
Well, these are small, serious fights in this, I think, a greater conspiracy of all of this kind of big tech bowing down to China or taking a knee to China. The reason I say that is this kind of all coincides with the huge push for TikTok not getting banned. We saw a massive, huge push from the Chinese government when the ban came into conversation. And they were putting all kinds of media out there. They were pushing TikTok so it made you call your local representative to say unban it. All
Yeah.
this stuff kind of came to a fever pitch when they realized, okay, maybe it's going to get banned, and tried to push everyone over to Red Note. And the fact that there was such a media propaganda campaign behind Americans discovering the truth on this full-on CCP app
Yeah.
about China shows me that this is like definitely part of a bigger movement. This isn't just like, let's try to control search results on YouTube. This is like, how do we control the entire narrative about everything? Have you guys heard of Made in China 2025?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we covered that for a long time.
until they
Right.
sort of quietly stop talking about it
Yeah.
publicly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it's interesting because some people have been reaching out to us saying that they suspect this might have something to do with that. the leadership in China needs to accomplish its goals, like at least publicly on paper. Like, for example, we just eradicated poverty. In fact, what they did was just make it illegal to say that there was poverty anymore, right? When there's some top-down like goal from the leadership, everything gets thrown at it. This is how dictatorships work, right? So everything gets thrown at it. They throw every budget at it. They throw every priority at it just to make sure that it comes to fruition, or at least people believe it did. And some people are speculating now that this huge kind of global media push to make sure everything is pro-China in narrative has something to do with that.
Yeah. I wanted to go back a little bit to the travel influencers again. And something else that's definitely skewing the way these videos are being served and so on is incentive. All right. Now, what happens is if you want people to make videos about China and continue, like these big travel vloggers, okay, make sure that they get good views.
Yeah.
Make sure that they're getting good results so that they are incentivized to continue to do so.
Or other people are.
Yeah, or other people see like, oh, look, this channel that was getting like maybe 50,000 views on every video, they got a video of like 1.7 million when they did a Chongqing, the biggest city you've never heard of video, right? And the Chinese government is very good at utilizing bot networks and just pure nationalism. We've seen it before in the past. I mean, they had forum posts, on the Chinese internet that used to tell people and instruct them how to falsely flag my videos and Laowhy86's videos. And they would tell them, hey, listen, if you're patriotic, if you love China, this is what you have to do. And people were just blindly following these forum posts. And it used to say, go to this video in particular. This is, you click on the little flag because, the majority of the people that are reading this, they can't speak or read English. So they have to follow the pictures. Click on the little flag, click on this, copy and paste this line. And there were lines like he's dangerously using firearms, things like that. Paste that into the reason why you're flagging this video. Then you click submit and okay. This is how you sign up for a VPN so that you can get access to YouTube to do this. So, I mean, you've got these behind the scenes, this kind of like engine, this switch they can flip on, which suddenly you've got a bunch of nationalists who'll go and do this voluntarily. And of course, they have the paid 50-cent army, as you're very well aware of, as well as bots. And they can turn on all that machinery and point it towards a Chongqing video or a travel video and say, go and make it popular. Go leave comments. Go give it thumbs up. Go give it a view.
If you go and see some of these very clear pro-CCP travel videos, if you did like some sort of audit of the comments, you wouldn't be surprised to find out it's full of bots. I mean, it's all like, you are handsome and true, you are good, this is good, come see beautiful city, you love China, like that. It's just all these like no avatar, like
user 3995
made last month accounts.
So that's another reason why a lot of these videos are going to be appearing in the algorithm, is because they're gaming the algorithm by ensuring that there's a lot of views on these videos. And that might sound like some sort of petty YouTuber worried about competition, but it's not true. I've personally got videos in the millions as well. So do you guys. It's just how it is. We know how it works. And we know when something is unnaturally being pushed. And you can tell by the bot comments and the reaction. And when you look at a channel that's got a bunch of mid video view, as far as views are concerned, a lot of mid, very low, and then suddenly they do a China video that's got a lot of views and a lot of views. And then when they do other content, it goes bad. You know that it's not natural. It's the same as some of the shills that we've seen that used to get reasonably good views when doing their shill trips. And then when they stopped doing shill content for China, moved back home or did something else, or they just went back to their normal videos, their views dropped off a cliff again.
Well, because they drank their own Kool-Aid. What they saw was they're like, wow, I have this very good response to this content. But actually it was just probably being promoted
propped
by
up,
the CCP.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I think we've pretty clearly shown that something is going on the YouTube side, but then you also have the CCP side pushing these things, and it just creates this perfect storm, which is very critical at this time because, I mean, just today, the Chinese embassy, they were talking about war with the United States, very threatening. And if the American public is getting their information about China from pro-CCP or CCP-linked channels and videos, That's, I mean, that's a information warfare. That's a front of the war.
But at the moment is we've got a situation where China's trying to awe, the rest of the world through its propaganda, try to make people feel inadequate. It's the kind of thing like, oh no, look at how far ahead China is. Look how amazing their high-speed rails are. Look how amazing their infrastructure is. Show a bunch of Christmas lights on buildings, and suddenly people think China's far ahead. We don't stand a chance. And that demoralizes people.
It does.
When you know the real truth, that that's a hollow facade, and the fact is China's far behind in so many aspects of daily life. And if you were to try and live there for any short amount of time, you would very quickly realize just how much better you had it off in your home country. Then you would see that it's just all shortcuts and facades. That's what China is. And it's
Well, on that
very
note,
effective.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of thinking of this video that you guys did. This is many years ago, where it
Mhm.
was about like you were going through somewhere in China and like there was all this new construction and you could like take a corner of a building and just like touch it and it would start to crumble.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like
And that's real.
But yeah, but that was I like that video of yours because it was such a perfect metaphor for all these things that are happening in China, right?
well, I think Shelley, you showed me recently what was that account, Mr. Lee, who was
Oh,
talking about
Teacher Lee.
Teacher Lee, and why don't you tell the story about that woman? Because I thought this really explains well what's happening in China, despite what people are seeing on Red Note
Oh, yeah, it was just there's a
or
guy
YouTube.
who is a Chinese vlogger who goes around and it kind of interviews people. And he was just talking to this woman who was set up a shoe shine stall on the outskirts of Beijing. And then he was asking her, what she was doing, and she had her son with her who was 8 years old and blind. And she was like, "Oh, I'm here. My son is blind. He has brain tumor. And then he was asking her like how much his medical treatment cost, and she was like, "Oh, 10,000 yuan a month," which is, it's like it's not that much in dollars, right? It's 1,400 American dollars, but it's
Yeah.
so much in China. And then she was saying that to get the surgery that would really like help him would be like hundreds of thousands of yuan. She couldn't do it, and she and her mother were basically working as, the delivery drivers on scooters in addition to like doing all this like odd work just to make enough to try to pay his like bills so he could be seen by the doctor. And like, they went to her apartment, like she's sleeping on the floor because it's like a studio essentially where the three of them are living. And this is kind of the part of China that people don't see from these, glitzy. Chongqing is the biggest city in the world. You've never heard of videos. And she was actually from Chongqing, actually. That like they had to move to Beijing to get medical treatment for her son. So like this whole story is like it's very much emblematic of that part of China that you do not see. You cannot see it unless uh, you know, it's not going to be shown in that type of propaganda that they want to say that they've lifted people out of poverty, the whole thing.
I'm in contact with a guy who used to be an enemy, so to speak, somebody who really couldn't stand my guts and actually went out of his way to try and sabotage me back in the day, sabotage my reputation. And he reached out privately about a year back to say that, he apologized and he was like, "You were right, about how things are here in China." Because the guy is an American, and although he's very pro-China, he's also very pro-America, and the two things clashed because it got to a point not that long ago where you could no longer be pro-China if you were pro-American. You either have, if you're pro-China, you have to be anti-American. That's just the way it is.
No.
Yeah. And so he was invited to do a live stream with one of these big guys, these big guys that are involved in the whole Chongqing propaganda and so on. They have these live streams where they bring guests on and they talk about how much better China is than America, basically. They always have some reason. So he was invited on to talk about the green spaces that China's making. Okay, so China's busy building a bunch of green spaces, parks and so on in some cities. And so they took him around Chongqing to show some green spaces. They filmed the whole thing with him. They sat him down in the studio. And the host, who's well known to both of us, was badgering him about the green spaces, saying, "See how amazing China's green spaces are. America doesn't have anything like that, right?" But because the guy is also pro-American and spends a lot of time in America, he pushed back and said, "You know what? That's not true. America has lots of green spaces. And you know, we've been developing a lot of good green spaces. In fact, in my hometown, etc., here and there, and it's amazing what we're doing in America. Because guess what? It is true. America actually does have incredibly good parks, probably some of the best in the world. Never mind the national parks, things like that. But like the care of the environment in America is far better than in China. But you know, he wasn't incredibly confrontational. He just pushed back against this claim that America doesn't do this. America doesn't have green spaces. And because of that, the episode that they filmed never aired.
That's very emblematic of China's media.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also find that's how people's opinions change. Something happens that targets them. And I think that's why zero COVID was so disastrous for the party, because you know, if you persecute the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, that's far away. But when you lock down Shanghai, that's China's middle and upper class getting targeted. So yeah, that's what it takes. I mean, it's great that that person wrote to you and had that experience. I mean, that must have felt great for you to hear that.
There's another one which I'll talk about in the future sometime, but there was a guy who really did a lot of damage to my reputation. And he went online and accused me of being, you know, racist and all sorts of other things. And he made a big thing of it. And he reached out not that long ago to apologize and, you know, to tell me, you know, so you know, I was wrong. And I had my reasons because I'm doing business in China and that's why I did it. That type of thing.
You know, to go off the whole like anti-America, pro-China thing.
Yeah.
That is such a feature of Chinese propaganda right now that I think it's more important. I think we should discuss it a little more because right now it's not just the goal of the CCP to push that China is some better alternative. Yeah. It's actually more of a goal from what I'm seeing to push anti-America kind of videos and pieces of content that make Americans feel dissatisfied with life, almost to spread some sort of horrible dissent amongst the American public and exacerbate problems that maybe do exist, but exacerbate them to the levels that, you know, really upset people. We saw that, you know, kind of start around the time of the Hawaii fire, you know, that whole spiel that happened, right?
Yeah.
The Hawaii fire situation that was like China was using AI imagery to say it was way worse than it was, right? And that was getting people all riled up. We're now seeing that elements of that kind of end up in even these travel videos. Yeah. Somebody will walk around and be like, you know, a video with 4 million views or whatever. They'll walk around and be like, China's amazing. They don't have shootings like we do in America. And you can tell those lines are not organic. They're trying to slide things in there to sow dissent.
Look, there's no homeless drug addicts here. Yeah. You know, that's not true. They're tons. They're just being shipped out of the
but you see them too. I mean, we filmed so many homeless people in China. It's right there in front of you. In fact, one of our favorite things is there was a China shill, a real paid China shill. Yeah. I believe from South Africa. Yeah. And he's walking around and he had been tasked with doing live streams. So China was having, this is a good example of a top-down leadership thing. China was having something called the Zhuo revolution, the streaming revolution. So the Chinese government was really incentivizing farmers to stream and everyone to stream to show China to the world. But obviously it's carefully vetted in a controlled environment. So they had this paid shill that they trust go out into the streets and say, do a live stream where you walk through the CBD, like the best area of Qingdao. Yes. And which is already one of the richest cities in China, and walk around and say, look, there's no homeless people. But while he was streaming, he kept running into homeless people and be like, oh, look at over there. Yeah. Oh, what a beautiful day. Look at the weather.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. What was I saying again? You know,
even in this carefully groomed situation.
It was like rapid fire. There were like 3 in a row. Yeah. And he was like, whoa, and he recovers and he carries on. Then there's another, whoa. So that's a great clip. We'll show it to you sometime. It's amazing. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. It's like when they go to Xinjiang and it's like, oh, this mosque is closed. That's strange. It must be a holiday. And then another travel vlogger will go to Xinjiang and the same mosque. It's closed on a different day. Oh, well. But they do have mosques like in the center that it's like the Truman Show, where it's the same people in there every day. And that's where the travel vloggers can go and say, oh, there's no persecution of Muslims in Xinjiang.
The same ones in the same place.
We see the same people.
And they've like been said, they have been turned into tourist destinations, the mosques, you know, for the Han tourists to go, and also, you know, for propaganda purposes. You walk in there and you film and take photos, and it's like a tourist thing, which is pretty disrespectful, I think.
Yeah, they do that with churches as well. Remember, we'd go and there'd be an old church from pre-communism period or whatever, and
Mhm.
it's gutted and it's basically a shrine to the CCP. You see those dotted around the countryside in China.
Yeah, it's got Xi Jinping on the wall and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah, it's pretty rough.
You can go to the Potala Palace in Lhasa, Tibet, and it's just like you
Yeah.
pay 40 yuan or something, and you get like a stage managed tour of this what used
Mm.
to be like a very holy place, or the main temple there, the Jokang Temple. Uh, I
Yep.
I was told by some foreigners like don't talk to any of the monks because they're going to try to test you to see if you're like part of the Free Tibet movement, and if so, like they'll report you.
Well, this was when you
Because
were there like 20 years ago. I don't think you can even get into the Tibet
probably
now.
not even now.
Yeah.
But like but it was worse than it wasn't a real temple. It was they had turned the whole thing inside out so that like monks were spying on each other and spying on the tourists.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it was such an awful environment. Obviously not a place to do like religious cultivation, but also
Yeah.
it's just like just the opposite of it's like just everything is upside down.
You know, speaking of cultivation, what you said right there, if that was 20 something years ago, then that's what's happening now in normal Chinese society, like this whole rat out your neighbor for money or for
Mhm.
clout or for
Mhm.
some political, you
Yeah.
know, currency, or rat out your fellow foreigner. If you see a foreigner, make sure you're very suspicious of him and call this hotline and stuff. We had people, we had Chinese nationalists on using a VPN, breaking the law,
Yeah.
going on live stream on YouTube and calling the PSB to report us.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
because it became incentivized. It's like it was like a small economy.
no joke. We were sitting watching a Chinese nationalist on YouTube stream himself, call the Public Security Bureau, and report us to the police while we were still living in China.
Yeah.
You know.
But that
Wow.
you know, it was because
And you know what he reported us for?
Well,
For talking bad about China.
Yes.
Hey, more, you know,
and then
smearing
actually
China.
that's when they
Were you
your-
picking
their ear-
quarrels, spreading rumors?
No, we smear. We don't pick quarrels. We smear. We
Apparently
hey
it was
more.
smear.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
smear. We black.
That's actually a great what is it
we
called?
black China. We smear China. As they
It's
say.
a great dog whistle if somebody says like you smear China. Anytime somebody uses the word smear, they are compromised by the CCP.
100%.
The word smear is very specific.
Very, very
to
specific.
CCP
Yeah.
stuff.
It's a dog whistle. But I mean, they've been
Mhm.
making people report and spy on each other like back in the Yan'an
Yeah.
rectification.
Oh,
that's
sure.
that's communism 101.
I just think social media and their prerogative has changed because when you put a Weibo post about it that gets 100 million views and it's like call this number and then get this amount of money depending on what they did.
Yeah.
I think it's really gotten easy for that kind of culture to take off. And people used to laugh at us when we used to say this. We said China's turned into North Korea but with more money.
Yeah.
And it really is. It's just a better cherry-picked North Korea. They can set up a lot of these perfect little destinations and get the perfect footage out and then block the internet so that nobody can see any alternative viewpoint and throw anyone in jail that says otherwise. It's really no different, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we've said it's North Korea but with better PR. So
Yeah,
we're
that's
definitely
well
on the
said.
same page
Similar.
there.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, it's really insane. And so I mean, this is why I think we're kind of the canary in the coal mine, because what's happening with us and this YouTube suppression, because we don't want this curated fake Chinese propaganda convincing Americans on how to make policy. Like you mentioned how they got Americans to call into their representatives to say don't ban TikTok. I mean, I think that actually really freaked out a lot of people in the US government and probably the Supreme Court as well.
That's information warfare.
Didn't it prove the
in
point?
action.
Didn't it
Yeah.
prove the point that
Yeah.
TikTok is an influence operation? Didn't it prove that point that it's dangerous, that it can suddenly, with a flip of a switch, cause en masse millions or hundreds of thousands of Americans to do something,
was
to
a
do their
great-
bidding?
It was a great test,
Yeah.
wasn't it, for them? Think about this. When China invades Taiwan, they can go to TikTok and say, well, let's turn off all the opposition voices now and blast out with a megaphone to 100+ million Americans exactly what we want them to think.
Which is kind of what they're doing to YouTube at the moment, if you think about it. And
in a way,
there are so few voices that actually speak out against the Communist Party of China, Present Company, of course, and a couple of other channels, but not that many. You can count them literally on both your hands.
Any significant ones?
Yeah, significant. I'm being quite serious here. And that is a big problem. It's very easy for them to go after us and quash us, but it also, there's a reason for that. And the reason is that if you criticize the Communist Party of China, you have to put up with a lot of bad stuff. You have to put up with a lot of bad guys trying to destroy your life and go after your family and so on.
Yeah, we could tell stories all day, but you know what I think is really indicative of the tactic that they're doing is that we had a barrage, and I think you guys did too, about this, like, oh, you guys are now getting less views because your US aid is cut off, right?
Sure.
It's so funny that we all got a barrage of these types of comments. In fact, another Russian YouTuber who speaks out against authoritarianism, he got the same thing.
Yeah,
just barrage of attacks saying, your US aid got cut off or whatever. And we got thousands of these comments saying like, you guys are just sad because your US aid is cut off. I didn't even know what US aid was until it came up in the whole news cycle.
Most people did, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. But it was funny because this was a very good cherry-picked thing to kind of show what they do when they have billions of dollars behind creators and massive, huge fountains of media that just get sprayed all over the US, right? These huge influence campaigns through TikTok and YouTube and all these paid shills and all this cherry-picked propaganda. That's their US aid, right? America doesn't pay YouTubers, doesn't pay influencers.
I wish I was getting US aid money,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
And that's no joke. Seriously, American government, pay me, please. I'm doing it anyway, so may as well.
We're doing you a favor.
Pay me. Yeah, you know what I mean?
But I think it's just very indicative of how they actually operate.
But on another more serious note, it's very easy to be a pro-China propagandist.
That's what sucks too.
And here's the reason why. And this happens a lot, if there's an individual, a YouTuber out there, for instance, I'm not going to select any specific one, but if you've got a YouTuber out there who goes out there and viciously attacks you and me, for instance, okay, makes up horrendous stories about us, goes after our families, does the worst things, tries to dox us, does all these terrible, terrible things, because they're going up against people with morals like us. If we do find out where they live, for instance, we're not going to retaliate. We're not going to go out there and say, this guy who's a Chinese propagandist lives here and he's a scumbag, and look into his taxes and all this, the kind of things they do to us all the time. Go after try their best, try to contact his family. We don't do that because we're the good guys. They're on the bad team. They're on the team with the bad guys that do immoral things, that do go after family, that do put pressure on family and acquaintances in China. They've got the bad guys. They have got the mafia on their side. And that's why it's so difficult to get voices that are willing to speak up against the CCP. That's why there's so few of us. Yeah, there's so few of us. And on top of that, we're now being suppressed by the manipulation of our own platforms in a free country, and this is not on. This needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
I think it was really fortuitous that as this was happening to us, we discovered that the Network Contagion Research Institution out of Rutgers University did a peer-reviewed research paper about
it was about
TikTok.
Yeah,
and they were examining how TikTok's algorithm is biased for pro-CCP content, and they also looked at YouTube and Instagram, thinking it would be a control like these social media.
Actually, they prepared themselves. If you read the study, they prepared themselves for what if it shows a pro-US bias.
But instead,
I read that.
They noticed the same thing with YouTube. Yeah.
So it's just
But it was nice to see that kind of peer-reviewed validation, as YouTube is telling us, no, people don't like your content.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to watch videos with no views.
It's too easy for them to manipulate the algorithm, because when you're dealing with a free society where you've got freedom of speech and all that sort of thing, you can take advantage of that if you're a bad actor, because there is no freedom of speech in China. There is no freedom of expression in China. We cannot go onto Douyin, for instance, and make a video that's
we
critical.
can't make an account.
Yeah, and we can't make a video that's critical of the CCP, and neither can anyone in China. And so when you see the content coming out of China, it can only be pro-CCP. It can only be something that they allow, because they do not allow any content critical of China to leave the borders of China on any social media.
That's what plays into the whole Red Note thing.
Yeah.
You have a groomed, cherry-picked version of China that is spreading to Americans. It's a controlled environment. It's only positive content that is allowed to leave
Red
the
Note
border.
was one of the few Chinese social media apps that did not have the kind of registration requirements
Yeah.
that would prevent Americans from signing on. Like that's why Americans couldn't
Oh.
get on Douyin. They
Well,
couldn't go to the
They
Chinese
changed
TikTok.
it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
changed it. They
Yeah.
actually changed it just before they did that big push,
Mhm.
because you did have to have a Chinese phone number and a Chinese ID to sign up for it in the past.
Did you?
Oh.
Yes, the Xiaohongshu. I'm pretty convinced that they changed it. Look into that.
Okay.
I'm like 90% on that.
Okay. I didn't think so because a lot of Xiaohongshu's user base are Chinese people abroad.
Yeah, but of course they use their Chinese.
Well, I mean, Chinese
credentials to
people
sign
who
up.
who don't live in China.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm wrong on that, I'm wrong on that.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, like, I'm pretty sure they changed their requirements just before that big push.
I know that Douyin changed their requirements to allow foreign users to sign up.
That happened too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Afterwards, yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't TikTok pushing Xiaohongshu? Like how that's
Yeah.
how a lot
I
of
don't
people
think the
were.
company was, but there was a huge psyop within TikToks, like comment sections, or they're promoting videos. It seemed to get everyone to move over there. You know, the
I
whole
mean,
TikTok
it
refugee thing.
has to have been because
I
they
think it's
would-
a CCP
They
push.
would, yeah, CCP push. They wouldn't have allowed that otherwise. I
No.
mean, they're not going to allow their own competition to.
It doesn't make sense.
But if they had a directive, because it actually looked like TikTok was going to get banned.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
It looked like for a minute that they were like, oh no, we've lost. We need to make up
Well,
an alternative
it
plan.
should be.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, that was kind of kiboshed. Anyway, the whole thing is, it looked like it was going to end. It's going to get shut down. It's going to have to get sold. We got to move our user base over. We need to keep our influence over the Americans. So let's quickly push them over to Red Note. And they scrambled. Red Note scrambled, and within 24 hours, they'd already changed the look and feel of Red Note to be more like TikTok.
Well, they called it Red Note.
Yeah, they called it Red Note instead of Little Red Book,
Right.
Xiaohongshu,
Right.
which is what it's
Because
always
they
been.
didn't want the communist
And
affiliation.
yeah, and all of a
Well,
sudden
my
this
favorite
thing that was
psyop about that were the people who were saying like, "Oh no, it's Little Red Book does not mean Mao's Little Red Book. That's something totally different."
The Financial Times
Financial Times,
published
yeah.
it. The Financial Times published something like where they were like, "Oh, you know, it's the Mao's Little Red Book is not called Little Red Book in Chinese. The founder of Little Red Book actually named it after, you know, she went to Stanford, so she named it after her alma mater, which has their team colors." And I was just like, am I taking crazy pills? And I started texting my relatives and being like, "Hey, it's called Xiaohongshu in Chinese, right?" And they were like, "Yes, that's everybody knows.
The
If you
Little
say
Red
that,
Book."
it means Mao's Little Red Book." I was like, "Okay, yeah."
all of the
I was like,
Chinese diaspora, everybody that we speak to here that uses Little Red Book always knew that it was Mao's Little
Yeah,
Red Book.
they thought it was like a cheeky little reference.
My wife,
Yeah.
my friends, her friends, my relatives, everybody who uses it in and out of China knows that it's Mao Zedong's Little Red Book. That's what
Right.
they signed up for.
Right.
That's what they wanted.
Right.
They wanted that, except it's a phone.
Yeah.
That's it. It's funny how they whitewashed that one, though.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say for everyone watching that we are I don't think either of us have been very public about all of the things we're doing behind the scenes, but I think there are some very encouraging things we're doing. I think
Yeah.
we're talking to the right people.
Mhm.
So we are really fighting this, and I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
we'll win.
With you guys' support.
Yeah,
And
I think if you
likewise.
can give this stream a thumbs up, everybody. We'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, we're hosting this on China Uncensored, but you want to check out the China show. This is one of Serpentza and Laowhy86's channels. They have their own separate ones as well, obviously.
That's a great idea. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I know we talked about going for an hour, but if we could take a few minutes maybe and answer some of our viewers' questions.
course.
because
Absolutely.
We do have
Absolutely.
this live, and
Yeah.
like, I know that
Hey,
there's so many of you guys here that are, and I really appreciate. Like,
I
all
said
the people.
10-hour stream. Let's do it. Oh, Shelly has been screenshotting.
"Oh,
some
I
of
just
the comments.
screenshotted some of them, but
Yeah, we
this
can do a
one's
few
good.
questions.
Yeah,
I'd be
let's do
happy
it.
to.
Let's
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
So if anyone watching, you have questions for us or our lovely guests, please send them now.
yes." I mean, this isn't a question, but I just thought I screenshotted it because we were talking at the time about how people were mysteriously not seeing our content. You guys were talking about that,
Mhm.
and
Oh, you
this
want
is-
me to
yeah,
read that? Let me.
it's from End Chinese Genocide.
Hope everything goes well. I haven't been seeing your content this year. I've seen like 2 videos from David Zhang, none from Serpentza and Laowhy. I have to search y'all up. I wonder where they're from, y'all south. And the search bar doesn't autofill China Uncensored. Oh yeah, that's the thing. If you try to search for China
Yeah.
Uncensored,
I think my
China ceiling
favorite
fan.
China ceiling design. Today
yeah.
I got China underground forest.
Nice.
Wait,
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
But
More like
uh,
kind of censored.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that one comes up too.
Whoa. Yes,
I mean, at this point,
you're
I'd
getting
take
into
that.
the vibe.
Oh, yeah, let's see. People leaving honeypots. Yeah, people are saying the same thing about your channel. They have to search. Oh, it's going
Yeah,
so
which is
fast. I can't keep up.
ridiculous. You know, if I'm looking for a channel that I watch a lot, it's normally in my recommended. If I'm
Yeah.
subscribed,
Especially if you watch every video.
it's in my recommended. I don't have to actually go search.
No, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see all of my Minecraft Hermocrat videos come up.
Somebody's asking, Yafta Williams asks, how can we help?
Well, I think the big thing is we've done some research into what YouTube considers engagement, and the more you can like, leave comments, and in particular, if a video does show up on your feed, click on it and watch it to the end. I think that seems to be the big thing that YouTube considers engagement. However, since we've been doing this thing called Operation Honeypot, where we've had people leave the honeypot emoji on our chat, we've gotten thousands of more comments on every episode than we used to get.
It's been,
And
I think we've gotten 4 to 5 times as many comments as we
Wow.
did before we launched Operation Honeypot.
and how are the views doing
A little bit better
from the creator?
from the
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
absolute creator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Well,
we're
that's good. That's encouraging. It's like a little boost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably enough for them to be like, well, you see, you got more engagement, and
No, but
That's
I
what I
don't
was
Yeah,
want
exactly.
to downplay
We-
it though, because it's super helpful in two ways. There's one is it really does probably bring views back up, but also
Mhm.
what you're doing by leaving a honeypot comment is helping provide evidence of that there is lots of engagement for China Uncensored.
Yes.
Right.
And then when we talk to government or whatever, and we're like, here's the evidence,
and we are.
yes.
then they're like there's just meaningful
It's data.
evidence. So you're
yeah.
and when you fill out the survey that we did in December and you guys did in I think January,
Mhm.
like that data is really meaningful. Like all that stuff, like we're presenting that not with individual people's names, of course, but like we're presenting that broad data to people who can then do something with it. So
great.
This
Nice.
is really valuable.
And I think
That's a good idea.
for the comments too, a lot of you who are leaving the honeypot comments are telling us, oh, I started seeing your videos again, or I'm still not seeing them, or whatever. And it helps. That's also information that helps us kind of see what's going on, right? Like otherwise, we don't know what you guys are seeing.
Yeah, and actually, everyone watching, I think I want to start seeing honeypot comments on Serpentza and Laowhy86 and
Yeah,
China
we've
show.
seen some. We've actually
great.
seen
Shout
some
out to all
spillover.
y'all.
Yeah.
Shout out to y'all.
Yeah.
Great, because
We
I mean
appreciate
that
that.
is also good data because we're in a similar vein of shows. Our audiences should be seeing each other's
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
should.
And yet
Absolutely.
that's not
And
happening.
I think they used to. I think
Yeah.
they used to. I don't see that happening now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Let's do a couple more questions.
Yep.
There's just nothing but honeypot comments coming in right
So
now.
many.
Which is great.
That is good. That is good. I mean, this is definitely. I'm really glad we got together to do this live stream.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Absolutely. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, I wonder how many. Do you ever wonder how many subscribers or views you would be getting if YouTube were not throwing up hurdles every step of the way?
It's
Well, I think we had an indication of that before this happened. We're doing pretty well.
yeah, it's so annoying, Chris. I'll tell you what, because there's always been some sort of force
Yeah, there's something.
against us. Like I said, there were all those forums on how to falsely flag our videos, and for years we've been inundated with just pure attacks, downvote brigading, false flagging, all this kind of nonsense.
Actual death threats.
Yeah, death threats, people going after our family, all that. But as far as the YouTube side of things, gaming the algorithm by basically downvoting and falsely flagging our videos for years. So, they weren't doing very well because they were being downvoted and they were being demonetized and age restricted and all that for no reason. They'd be age restricted because somebody false flagged it and said there's like bestiality in there or something.
Right.
And then they're like age restricted and you're like, what the hell, man? I was talking about the
I got
weather.
some crazy videos. Yeah, age restricted back then. There was a whole rash of age restrictions. I'd be talking
Oh, we
about
remember
how,
that.
like,
Yeah, we remember that.
one foul word the entire show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was that for the longest time, for many years. And then they kind of got that under control. And I think YouTube figured out that this false flagging thing was going on. And suddenly we saw a big growth when that sort of was lifted off.
Yeah.
And, you know, we used to get quite common. We'd get videos in the millions, you know.
I'd say the past 3 years have been pretty good.
Yeah.
The past 3 or 4 years have been great. And then now we're seeing that whole bad turn happening.
Yeah, now something is, some switch was flipped. And I don't want to make allegations, but who knows? Maybe there's someone within YouTube or a team within YouTube that's sympathetic. I'm just saying, you know, in Minecraft, whatever you want to say, there's very possibly a sympathetic team there that's on the slide going after us and blacklisting our channels. That's entirely possible. It could just be gaming of the algorithm again through SEO and boosting all these pro-China channels up the wazoo and, you know, getting our channels kind of pushed to the bottom,
removing us out of the search.
Yeah, which that's the one part.
Sense.
That's the one part that doesn't make sense is the fact that we've searched now and it's been weeks.
I think that's the caught red-handed moment.
Yeah, and not one Laowhy86 videos turned up.
No,
not one.
Actually, I want to ask you guys because who's the guy who did the? Is it Asmongold?
Yeah.
Did that reaction video to your video and Matt, and he said, "Oh well, sure, but you know, there could be other reasons," because he was searching up the actual titles for your videos and being like, "Oh, those showed up."
Yeah, well, I mean, that's.
I think he you know, he does videos quickly, right? He streams all the time and he does videos. I think he didn't really sit down and analyze what was happening. A couple other things, like you got to use an incognito tab for this experiment to work. Number 3, he failed to see, you know, 8 propaganda videos on his screen
no joke,
while claiming that he wasn't seeing.
He was saying like, oh, it just looks normal. And there were a list of at least 5 or 6 living in China videos, one after the other.
Which again, I'm not going to blame him. And I actually really, I wanted to thank him for spreading the message out there. It was really nice that he did that. Just there were some inaccuracies, like, and I don't expect anyone out there to be able to identify Chinese propaganda, but it was very clearly on there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And if you could easily identify it, then it wouldn't be very good propaganda. Right?
True.
Like,
True.
The whole point is that these China travel videos they look like independent Westerners who just go to China and they're enjoying the experience. And these aren't it's not doctored footage. It's real footage that just they're turning the camera in the correct direction at the right location at the right time. But it's real. It's true. It's just only that slice. And so that's why the propaganda is so insidious and so good and so powerful. Because
sorry to interrupt, but when you're being paid to do something, when you're being paid and incentivized and they're putting you in a 5-star hotel and covering all your travel costs and flying you over, you're not going to want to show the bad side.
Well, there's not even an option. You got a script.
Yeah, right? I mean, you're not going to be like, oh, look at these homeless drug addicts, because
but
don't
you
forget,
don't get paid until after you publish everything.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, these travel channels, that's how they make their money. That's how they do their thing. If they get blacklisted because they showed something they weren't supposed to, they're not going to be able to go to the next China trip, which is guaranteed views and a guaranteed travel package. They're not going to get it. And on top of that, word might spread in the industry and they might not go to other countries too. So there's a reason why they're not going to show you the bad stuff. You know?
You know, one thing I think it was great that we have developed the technical know-how to do this kind of a live stream where we can have you guys on. I know I've been seeing people in the chat say it would be great if we could get some of the other big anti-CCP YouTubers. Some people have mentioned David Zhang. What's her name? Lay's Real Talk. I've seen a little bit of that channel. So maybe one of these days we'll just have a big, massive, united front live stream.
And it will get 0 views.
0 views. No one will want to watch it.
Well, I mean, if you get too many, it'll look like a recorded Zoom meeting.
Well, no.
Yeah.
We'll title it like
by one.
One by one.
China YouTubers realize America is losing China forever.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
10
sounds
million
good.
views. Yeah.
That's great, Chris. I mean, I encourage that. I
Yeah.
think it would be fantastic if you guys get more people on to just boost this message, because it's a real thing. It's not made up. It's not a bunch of petty has-been YouTubers going like, "Oh no, we don't get views anymore." We literally went, "Great, millions of views, 70,000
I
views."
actually hope more people see something like this and get the confidence to make content that is anti-CCP if they
Yeah.
do believe in that, because we need more voices out there.
Yeah, and especially in today's political climate, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of things, a lot of distractions going on. But China's not distracted. China's taking advantage of all this confusion right now, and they're really digging in
And
deep.
stoking it.
You know, and they're behind a lot of this, by the way, a lot of the division and a lot of the arguments and distractions.
You know, Winston, I don't mean to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but early in the video when you mentioned that this is not a conspiracy theory, like the stream cut off. Like the stream, like there was like a weird lag, and it just completely like lost it for a few seconds.
Yep.
Hey,
Yeah.
I used to get called the conspiracy theorist because I said COVID came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So
Yeah.
you know, anything can turn around.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I am very hopeful. I've seen since I started back in 2012, I've seen a huge shift in how people think and talk about the Chinese Communist Party. So I think the writing is on the wall, and this is probably, I hope, a final gasp of our opponents, and we're going to win, and we'll be able to retire, and everyone will love us forever.
Amen. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, you know what
Amen.
they say: heroes never lose. You know, it just takes a long time till they
Yeah.
win.
Sometimes your entire life.
Yes.
For Gondor.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Appreciate what you
very
guys
much.
do, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, likewise. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. This is great. Everyone watching, we'll leave links to their channels. We'll also leave links to this petition that we're doing about Apple. It is really important that we get to 10,000 signatures, so please sign that. And yeah, thank you for watching. This was fun.
Yes.